You are awake at last, darling. It's lovely to officially meet you. I somewhat feel like I know you already, actually. You see, I have been watching you, particularly you, for quite some time already. So, I happen to feel like we are fast friends. You may have a different opinion of me. That's understandable, really. But I think with time, we could actually become friends. Although, a lot of that does depend on you, on your cooperation. See, let me see if I can explain this to you as simply as possibly. Certain things are going to happen, whether you want them to or not. Now, you can try to fight these things, make it much more difficult on me, make them take longer, and make them probably more difficult on you as well. At any rate, significantly more painful. Or, option B, you can cooperate. You can help me learn what it is I would like to learn. And we can get this over with much more quickly. Who knows? Maybe you'll actually grow to like me after a while. Isn't your breed good at loyalty? Well, it doesn't matter exactly if we become friends or not, because you and I are, at any rate, partners. As I said, I've been watching you for a very long time. You and all the other members of your little pack. What do you mean? What do I mean by pack? You know exactly what I mean. Now, of course, living a life that we live amidst these infantile humans, of course we do have to have a certain air of secrecy. But darling, here, between you and me, there is no need for secrets. So let's just get it out in the open, shall we? My name is Veronica, and I'm a vampire. And you are a werewolf, aren't you? There's no bother denying it, darling. I have had my eyes on your pack for, well, quite a long time. It's been a few years, actually, that I've been observing from the shadows, learning what I can from a safe distance, of course. You see, you're not the first werewolf that I've acquired to study. Although between you and me, you are a bit cuter than the last one. And you see, the last time, I learned quite a lot about what makes a big, strong werewolf like you tick. But, unfortunately, our time together came to an end. Mistakes were made, lessons were learned. Wait, what are you trying to get out of those chains? Darling, that's not going to happen. As I said, I have been observing you for quite a long time, and you are not my first person that I've had in those chains. Quite lovely things, aren't they? Very shiny. Any guesses as to what they may be made of? That's right. Silver. Very good. You don't particularly like silver, do you? You werewolves. Something about the alchemy of them. Did you know that that's what it's from? Alchemy. In the study of alchemy, silver is associated with the moon. That big white ball in the sky that seems to give you and your kind so much trouble. That's of course why you're here tonight on the new moon, where that big white ball in the sky completely disappears and you are at your weakest. I've perfected my skill of capturing a wolf as well. I emerged unscathed this time, though my last encounter, as you can tell, ended quite antagonistically. You see, vampires generally, we heal very quickly, and it is almost impossible to leave a scar. But apparently not completely impossible, as you can see. But it doesn't really matter to me. I've got all kinds of wonderful things in store for us, and I will not be making the same mistake twice. So, whether you like it or not, you are now mine, little doggy. Perhaps someday you'll accept your position as my little pet. As I said, I think we could actually be fast friends, if you cooperate. I admire the spirit in your eyes. That's something I have come to very much appreciate about your species. But time is of the essence, darling, because since my last friend was taken from me so rudely, I have determined to utilize every moment that we have together. And we're already a bit behind the schedule, so let's begin, shall we? Now, the last time I had a wolf, I was able to test a few very special substances. We will certainly be revisiting those. I wouldn't want you to miss out on it. Quite fun, you see. But I also want to spend a bit more time determining a few other peculiarities of your species. It's been so long since I've been this close to a wolf. Are you aware of how positively delicious you smell? See, that's one of the lessons I learned from my last encounter with a werewolf, is that I require much more blood while I'm around you than I had originally thought, because your blood is so very, very tempting. Do you know the rumours of what werewolf blood does to a vampire? It looks like perhaps you have heard that. Well, don't worry, darling, don't worry, don't give me that look. This is our very first night together. I promise to be gentle. There will not be any feeding. Not tonight, anyway. But I do have quite a lot that I would like to discover with your help. As I said, you're welcome to try to fight. But you see, if I don't learn what I want to from you, if you happen to be particularly unpleasant and I have to do away with you, then I'm going to find myself in a position of needing another wolf. And there's quite a few other wolves in your pack. Quite a few that are honestly quite a bit weaker than you. You wouldn't want me to have to pick one of those up, would you? That's what I thought. Well then, why don't you cooperate a bit better than my last mangy little mutt that I've had, and we'll get through all of this as quickly as possible. Alright, let me get out my notes. As I said, I have been observing you and your pack for quite some time. Quite some time. Okay, let's see. Now, I would like to start out just by getting some very close-up measurements of your fangs and things of that nature, if you would permit me, darling. Here we are. Just got this little tool here. This is a lovely little tool. It's called a Caliper. And it just helps me measure things that are an irregular plane. So something is not entirely flat, like a tube or like a face. You can use this to line it up and then read the measurements on the bottom in. So it's quite a useful little tool, but it does require you to hold a bit still. Not going to, are you? Alright, well, I wanted to start with the measurements, but if that's not going to work, we could start with something else, darling. I hate to say it, but I think you're going to find this a bit less pleasant than just taking some measurements of your face. But if this is what you would prefer, then this is what we shall do. Now, in here, I have a very special tincture. It's one that I've developed myself after years of research and perfecting the formula. You can already smell it, can't you? I didn't even put it under your nose yet. I suppose you mongrels do have quite good smell. And I've made this one a bit stronger. Any guesses what might be in here? Of course, it's a concoction of quite a few different things, but the main ingredient is a very specific plant called aconitum. It's quite a lovely flower, if you ask me. Unfortunately, like most things that are beautiful, it is also incredibly dangerous. You see, aconitum is very poisonous. Multiple parts of the plant are poisonous, actually. It's not just the flowers and it's not just the roots. There's quite a lot that isn't good for humans. And it also is an unfortunate little plant for you werewolves. You see, it's known by many names. Aconitum is the scientific term. I am first and foremost a scientist. But it's known by quite a few other names as well. Monk's hood is one of them, probably due to the shape of the pretty flower. But it's also known by another name. Do you know what that might be? Wolfsbane. That's right. The beautiful aconitum plant is something quite unpleasant to you, isn't it? You're already feeling a bit dizzy, aren't you? Yes, it is quite a powerful See, I've seen this at work, and I've even perfected the specific concoction since my last little run-in with a wolf like you. That one was in upstate New York. It was quite a nice little cabin, but of course I can't go to the same place again. I had to leave the state after my little run-in with the rest of the pack. As I said, it was quite unpleasant, but it's alright, no matter. I don't mind moving around. Done it my whole life. I have to, so that humans don't get wary that I don't age. Practical immortality does have its drawbacks, although I'd say that the pros greatly outweigh the cons, in my opinion. Anyway, so I already know that this little substance, even if I just put the tiniest little drop on your tongue, is going to make you much more amiable. I don't really need that confirmed, but if you would like to, I suppose we can start with that. Or you can just cooperate and let me take my measurements. Well, I did say that I appreciate the spirit in your particular race. Doesn't mean that it isn't just a bit annoying, darling. Oh well. Right. Here then, give this a nice good whiff close to the nose. I know you're going to have to breathe eventually. If you would like to just breathe through your mouth, I could always just take a little bit of this on your tongue. Even just a bit on your lips would have quite a fascinating effect. And would you like to see what it does when I put it on your skin? Quite the reaction, let me assure you. Especially because this one is even stronger than the last one. You'll take a sniff. Good choice. Good talking. Very fast acting, isn't it? It had better be as strong as it is. Especially if we're going to use it in a line of defense. Now it is much easier to actually capture a wolf when I have just a bit of that and a bit of a spray and I can just quite close to you. You wouldn't even suspect it if it was in a little perfume bottle, would you? A lovely little lady taking out a little perfume to freshen herself up. These humans are so vain, aren't they? Well, to be fair, quite a lot of vampires are vain as well. Not to be though. Right, now, are you feeling a bit more amiable? You're looking a bit more amiable at least. Well, now, perhaps we could get a few measurements. Good. See, I just really want to be able to analyze this species as closely and accurately as possible. You see, I would like to be able to detect werewolves from afar. You see, we vampires, we don't have the sort of scent, the sense of smell that you werewolves do. And so it's a bit more difficult for us to pick you out. Unless, of course, you're talking about certain things that a normal human wouldn't be talking about. There are definitely lots of werewolves that like to make mistakes, but for the most part, it can be a bit difficult especially the lone wolves that are not in packs. So it's very important. It's very important that we learn more about how to identify you. And really the only way that we're going to do that is from a large sample size. But for now, starting with just you. Every scientist has to start somewhere. The other wolf. You want to know what happened to the other wolf that I had? Well, unfortunately, they got away. As I said, mistakes were made. I'm not against admitting that. You see, part of being a scientist is making mistakes. That's why we study things, is because we don't know. And so sometimes you're going to make assumptions, or you're going to go about something the wrong way, and you're going to make mistakes. That's part of the process. But you see, even mistakes, they're not really failures, because you still learn from your mistakes. And then, after you learn, you just try again a different way. Exactly, it's part of the scientific process, really. Test and learn, and test again and learn again. Unfortunately, the Vampiric Council didn't see it that way, especially when I was abducted so rudely and tortured for a few days and then used for ransom. So, unfortunately, I don't have an alternative revenue stream anymore, which is why I took quite a while studying you and your pack to make sure that I got it right this time. Alright, it does look like that's wearing off now. Good. Part of developing this new formula was making it very strong, very quick, but also being able to have it wear off. It makes my testing much, much easier. Now, I do have another one that the only way that the effects would wear off is if I actually give you an antidote. But we'll get to that one later, shall we? I did get most of the measurements that I wanted. Now, would you mind, darling, if I just take a few other observations? Right, see, I just want to make sure that I have a base so that when we start our tests, I understand what exactly the effect is on you. Alright, here we are. Hold nice and still for me, dearest. Much more amiable now, aren't you? Something so strange about a beating heart to a vampire. Alright, I'm just going to listen to your lungs a bit. Would you mind breathing in for me, dearest? Thank you. Breathe in again. Okay, good. Let's go over to this side. Deep breath again, darling. Once more. Good. Now just breathe normally for me now. Good. See, I knew that you were an excellent specimen because you are quite strong, aren't you? See, I wouldn't want to just pick off a weak one from your pack and test them, because then how do I know that my substances would actually work on the more fearsome wolves? I've got to start with someone who is quite strong. Exactly. I know that you understand, whether you say you do or not. So, this one definitely has a good effect. Definitely makes you a bit less feisty. Not that I don't like feisty now and then. But as I said, we do have a lot to get through. And I wouldn't want to have to take longer. Alright, let's... Yes, I think we'll try this one next. That one looks very interesting, doesn't it? You see, it's quite a bit darker. This is the one that just makes you a little more agreeable. This is the one that will most likely be very unpleasant for you. I hate to have to say it, but sacrifices must be made with the threat of war on the horizon. Yes, I am aware that there is a treaty now between wolves and vampires. The awful peace treaty of 1923. Quite a waste of diplomacy, if you ask me. We would be able to just eradicate all of you wolves in one fell swoop, if we wanted to. You don't think so? And yet here you are, chained up in this little cabin in the middle of nowhere with me. Well, what would stop us from having the element of surprise in a war, too? You see, you wolves, seeing as you all travel in packs for the most part, it means it's quite easy to find you. Because as soon as I find one wolf, I find dozens of them. Vampires are a bit more solitary creatures, usually. There are a few covens here and there, I suppose, throughout the world, but for the most part, we prefer to operate much more independently. We're not reliant on each other like you wolves. And the nice thing about you is that we always know when you are at your strongest and when you are at your weakest. Thanks to that big white ball in the sky. That's why you're here on the night of a new moon. And why, as the full moon gets closer, I will be increasing security. See, that was one of my mistakes last time, was underestimating just how powerful you wolves can be around the full moon. I let my hunger do the thinking for me, and that will not be happening again. Anyway, shall we see what this little substance will do to you? You see, I've been perfecting this one as well, and so I very much would like to have a reading of exactly how this affects you. This one, I think, will do just one little drop on the tongue. It might burn a bit, unfortunately, but mostly what I would like to do is observe how it affects your mind. So, whether it makes you dizzy, whether it makes you in pain, whether it makes you disoriented, anything like that. Alright, darling, open it, please. If you're going to make me hold your nose, I will. Seems a bit childish, though, really. Something a foolish little human would try. Just open your mouth, and it will be much less pleasant. Because if you make me hold your nose, maybe I'll just tip all of this into your mouth. That's what I thought. Just one little drop, darling, right on the tongue. See, I told you cooperation will be rewarded. fast acting too still. Good. Good. That is wonderful to see. Fascinating, actually. I actually wasn't sure how intense that one would be. I suppose getting into the taste buds makes it fascinating. Well, that's very good to know. Now I'm just going to get a good look into your eyes, okay? I just really would like to see what that substance is doing to your eye. How is your focus right now? Are you feeling a bit like it would be difficult to focus on things? I see. So if I told you to follow the light of this candle, does it follow the light? Follow the light with your eyes. I can see you trying, that's a good thing. Definitely more amiable once you're not feeling so invincible. Good to know. Good to know. Now, if you had to rate your pain level with this, not the dizziness and the disorientation, but the actual pain, what would you say? 1 being that there's no pain whatsoever, and 10 being the most excruciating pain you've ever experienced in your life. What number would you give to this pain? Okay, that's about what I expected. I was hoping it would maybe be a bit higher. Perhaps you're still just trying to act like a tough wolf. It's alright, I won't tell your pack if you start crying like a little pup. Trust me, it's happened before. It happens to the best of us. But I didn't come all this way. Change my appearance, change almost everything about me. Pander in the pool of popularity with the local humans. For you to lie to me, right? Awful creatures, humans. You know, it's a bit ironic, really, that we vampires, who are far superior to humans in every way, have to rely on them for blood, simply because their hearts are beating. They are indispensable to us. Cruel irony. Could you follow the tip of my pen here, please? Can you follow that? Does that feel a bit strange? Now, I said years ago, centuries ago at this point, that really humans don't really serve any purpose besides their blood. So why not just capture a few and keep them in farms? You know, I mean, humans do that to livestock. They capture creatures, domesticate them, breed them for their eggs, for their milk, and for their meat. Give that a whiff, darling. This is the antidote, by the way. There you are. And that is a creature that is far inferior to them. So why shouldn't we do that with humans, who are far inferior to us? Just put them all in farms, and we don't have to pretend every day less than we are. Oh, the Vampiric Council, as wise and ancient as they are, sometimes still has a soft spot for certain things. That antidote worked quite quickly, didn't it? Good to know, good to know. See, partially I would also like to limit the supplies of all of the different elements that I have in here. so that if you were ever to try to create an antidote, it wouldn't work. You're definitely looking better now. Definitely better, right? I do have one more experiment that I would like for us to get through today, darling, okay? This one, I am afraid to say, is going to hurt, but it is very, very important. Very, very, very important that I see how this affects you, alright? Here we are. Don't worry, darling, it's just a knife. Surgeons and the like use things like this all the time. I promise it is quite sanitary. It may look a bit rustic, but I do keep my tools very, very clean, don't you worry. You see, this is going to be a very, very important experiment because you wolves are quite pesky healers. You heal much, much more rapidly than the average human. So, it can be a bit difficult to keep you down. So, I need to see exactly how effective something like wolfsbane is at keeping you at bay. So, here's how this experiment is going to work. I'm going to use this little blade here and just make a very small incision, okay? And we'll time and see how long that incision takes to heal. Then, actually probably at the same time, I will make another incision with this blade after taking some of this wolfsbane solution and dipping the blade into the solution and then using it to cut you. And we will see exactly how long the difference is between the two. Do you see how important that could be to understanding how you tick? Very, very important for the war. I know there's not a war now. That treaty will not last. It just won't. I know that there might have been wonderful peace talks for quite some time, but it's not going to last. Vampires, we live for eons. And in that time we can become quite fickle. Once I'm part of the Vampiric High Council, that treaty will be abolished. And then you'd better be ready. Because we're going to be ready. With my crucial research. The Council may not see the value of it now, but they will. Someday they'll appreciate what I've done for them. Alright, darling. Give me your arm, please. No need to harm that pretty face of yours yet. Okay, here we are. Just going to make just a little cut right there. It's quite warm, actually. Is that from the healing? Probably. Okay, good, good. Now, let's dip our blade in there, shall we? And we will see exactly the difference that this will make. There we are. Excellent, excellent. Right, give me your arm once more. Not like you have a choice, you're chained to the chair, but there we are. Okay, that should be all that we need for this first experiment. Let's see, that first one is healing quite well, isn't it? The second one not so much. Darling, you look like you are in quite a lot of pain. It's not very nice of a thing to do to my pet, is it? Well, I think I will survive. Right. Well, that first one is already healed. That is quite miraculous, isn't it? Good, good. That second one, however, that still looks like it's going to be some time. Interesting. Oh, darling, you're looking a bit pale, if you don't mind me saying. And that's coming from a vampire, so you know that I mean it. You know what? Why don't you just close those eyes of yours? Perhaps get a bit of rest. There's no need to work so hard this first night. We have lots and lots and lots of time to get to know each other. We're going to have such fun together. But there's no need to push it our first night. I did say that I would go easy on you. So, why don't you just stop fighting? Just give in to the pain. Just give in. Get some shut-eye. And you wake up. We'll have more fun together. How does that sound, darling? Well, it sounds quite nice to me. It's all right, my dearest. I'm going to take excellent care of you for just as long as I possibly can. But for now, just relax. Just relax. Just and I'll see you later. We're going to have such fun